Hi, my name is Tim Roberts, and I'm going to take this extremely expensive cymbal and talk about why it may not be worth what it costs, and we're also going to do a modification to it, because why not? So this is from one of the big manufacturers of cymbals, very popular. And this is actually the most, as far as I can tell, the most expensive cymbal they offer. I got it on a trade, and I was excited to check it out because I'd never checked out one of these cymbals before. And I was interested to see if it would really hold up to the price tag that these things go for. So let's get into it. So it's a 22-inch cymbal. It has been handmade. As far as I can tell, the bell is hand formed, but it is around 2,200 grams. So for a 22-inch, that's on the medium thin side. It has only one lathe pass on the top and the bottom. And the way it was hammered gives it a very dry, kind of earthy sound, as you can tell. And I really like it. I think it's a nice sounding cymbal. One of the things I've noticed with all the modifications that I've done is I get quite a lot of guys sending me really expensive cymbals because they want a certain overtone or a certain frequency notched from the cymbal. It's all fine and dandy to have a perfectly tuned cymbal, but one of the dark sides of that is you can get cymbals that have a very musical, clear, and present pitch to them, which is great when you're playing by yourself, but the second you take that cymbal and you put it in a context with maybe acoustic instruments or when you're recording it, that tone, that sing-songy kind of thing might clash with what's going on with the other instruments. And so a lot of guys will send me very expensive cymbals that were handmade, and they'll just say, yes, it's got this overtone I don't really like. Could you work on it? So what I try to do with modifications a lot of times is I'm trying to take the mid frequencies and notch those out, because if you've got a hum on a cymbal or a weird overtone, a lot of times it's living in the mid range. And when you get rid of the mid range and you have a low fundamental, a low wash, and then a brighter or more high frequency stick articulation, you have a cymbal that isn't going to yell in the midst of the musical context, "I'm here." It's just going to feel more like it's fitting and blending in with the music, that's 90% of the modifications that I do. Is I'm taking a cymbal and I'm reworking it so that it blends more and is more musical, given the fact that like a cymbal is not supposed to have a clear pitch that rings out. That typically is annoying. This cymbal in particular has that to me, and I don't know if you can hear it through the mics, but to me in the room, it's got a really present hum, and the bell has this very piercing tone pitch that's really shooting out. And when I was playing it by myself, I loved the sound of it. I thought it was great. But if I was to take this to an acoustic jazz gig or a low volume folk rock gig, or even in the studio, what I would probably end up doing pretty quickly is pulling out the gaff tape and trying to tape up certain areas of the cymbal so that it would notch those frequencies. So our goal now is to take this cymbal, modify it, and be hopefully more worth the price tag that you have to pay to get your hands on one of these things. So let's go for it. All right, the first round of the modification is complete. When I went back to listen to the first playing example, I didn't quite realize just how intense that hum was. There's like this clear hum that's just sitting above the stick definition and the wash, and it cuts through like crazy, and it was really distracting to me. So thankfully, this modification has definitely taken care of that hum. It's pulled it down in pitch so that the hum is still there, because the cymbal has tons of frequencies going on. It's still gonna be present, but it now sits below the wash, and it's just more of a color that's part of the overall sound, as opposed to this really clear out front tone. So what I did was I lathed the underside of the cymbal, which obviously takes weight off, which lowers the pitch, but it's also loosening the tension when you lathe the underside. It was very top hammered, so it was a fairly stiff cymbal, which lends itself to a very dry, articulate sound. Then I went on top and I lathed the bell just to take away from that really piercing tone that it had. And then I lathed, as you can tell, just like 2.5, 3 inches from the edge. It had an even taper before, which again lends itself to more of a stiff cymbal that's going to have more articulation. And so now this lathing band here, it opened up a little bit of high-end shimmer to it, which I felt the cymbal lacked, but it also helps the crash a little bit more. And then when you ride on it, it has a sweet spot that's pretty much right at the transition between the lathing band and the portion that's original to the old cymbal. So let's check this cymbal out, and we'll see what we think.